June Singleton LLC, Fitness, Health, Nutrition, and Wellness Podcast. Today, my guest is the founder and owner of Lionheart Wellbeing LLC. She's a licensed massage therapist, acupressure, and energy healer, Christi Wrenn. Thank you for joining me, Christi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you give a background on yourself and how you got started?
Sure. I have been licensed in the state of Maryland for the past 2 years. I finished a massage training program at Potomac Massage Training Institute in February 2019. Got licensed in May of 2019 and started my own private practice in Greenbelt called Lionheart Wellbeing. Thank you for introducing me to that. I also work part-time in a wellness center in Columbia, Maryland called Nourishing Journey, and I'm contracted employee out of there. So I got into this healing arts because of my own personal experiences with grief, trauma, loss, accident. I had slipped and fell down a hill in Pittsburgh and ruptured my.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So through that experience, I had been, that was in 2015. I lost my dad earlier in that year. About 14 months prior to that, my brother and my sister-in-law were killed by a drunk driver in Virginia. So I was kind of at a crossroads in my life as far as I was in a career that felt like it was sucking the soul out of me. I was an accountant for 10 years prior to deciding that I needed a change and having that time off of work to recover from surgery from the ruptured quad. I decided to go back to school and become an energy healer, a body worker, and a Reiki master. And through that is partially because I had experienced as a receiver of energy work and body work through, episodes of grief and loss. I lost my mom at 25 years old. She was 55. She died from cancer. So in over the years, I had reached out for healing on my own for all of these life experiences, and then decided I wanted to give back from my own powerful experience and transformation. I wanted to give back to my community and bring healing to others. I think that a lot of people go through experiences and they get kind of stuck in them sometimes and don't know how to find their way back out. But I believe in compassionate touch and bringing light and love through my hands and through my heart. And I just wanted to give back to my community in a way of healing.
So how do you feel that you were able to overcome the trauma, the grief, the injuries? Because, sometimes it takes people years to get past that, and they don't know what methods to take to overcome that, and they stay stuck in that. So what was the breaking point for you to say, I don't want this anymore. I don't like this place that I'm in? Because I've experienced that myself with grief and the knee injury.
I think for me, what it was about 3 years after I lost my mom. I had found myself in a spiral of drug addiction and I was numbing my pain through opiates, pain pills, but didn't realize that that's what I was doing, numbing and escaping from the grief and the loss and the feelings of, just abandonment. And I reached out and sought, first it was through counseling, and then it was through acupressure, actually. And that's what drove me to really that's my passion. Acupressure is, I've received it for better part of a decade before I decided I wanted to be a practitioner. And I think part of it was just the legacy of what my mom had instilled in me. I didn't want to, even though she had passed away, I didn't want to be a disappointment to who she was and how she raised me. I went to, I was privileged enough to go to Catholic school my whole life. Went to college and graduated in 1999 from University of Maryland with a degree in psychology. I think always I've had a passion for wanting to help others, or I wouldn't have gone to school for psychology.
Right.
I mean, it was just 2 months after graduating that my mom got diagnosed, and she fought really, really hard for 3 years with an aggressive type of cancer that originated in her uterus, but was uterine cancer. And so part of it for me was just soul searching, hard work, realizing that I was throwing my life away and going down the wrong path. And I was raised better than that. And I wanted better than that for myself, and just kind of dug deep and did some personal inventory. And like I said, reached out for counseling. And then through that avenue, reached out and started receiving energy healing and body work, and kind of started to understand how traumas can get stored or held up in our bodies. And if we don't process through them, then they cause a lot of other problems down the road with whether it's mental illness, depression, anxiety, or if it's just aches, pains from stress and tension that we're holding in our bodies and not having an avenue or a good way to let that go. So a couple things led me down this path, but I know without hesitation in any thought process that this is where I'm meant to be, and this is who I'm meant to be. And it took me a little detouring to get here, but I'm a healer.
I definitely commend you. My question to you, how do you stay in that positive place? Because we all know you're going down the great positive road, and sometimes that negativity creeps back. So what do you do to ensure that you stay positive, that your spirit is in a positive state, mentally, physically, emotionally?
I'll be honest with you. I surround myself with good people. I believe good people know good people. I am in a period of my life right now where I've changed my diet. I'm eating better. So I'm nurturing myself from the inside out. And that's a first for me. I started to put myself first, and I am very connected to prayer and to spirit world and to Lord Jesus, Mother Mary. I'm not the greatest at meditation, but I'm getting better at it. But I just, I do exchanges with my colleagues. I research things. I'm really in tune with my body and my mind. And when things are feeling a little out of order, or I feel like I'm stuck or not grounded, I reach out and reach for the Lord. I reach for friends. I reach deep into my heart and soul. And I believe that we're all instilled with a soul wisdom that's a governing body of who we are. And sometimes it's hard to get to that deep place within our heart, within our soul, where we have all the answers. It's just sometimes it's hard getting there. And so I ask help when I need it.
I definitely agree, because it is that challenge of, when things come up and trying to center yourself. So definitely. So can you explain the difference from acupressure? Because, when people hear that, I'm sure the first thing comes to mind is they're thinking of acupuncture. So can you explain the difference?
Okay, yeah. So the easiest way to explain it is acupuncture is needle-based stimulation of acupoints, and acupressure is more a fingertip pressure or a touch modality where I'm accessing the same meridians, I'm accessing the same acupoints as an acupuncturist. I'm just using fingertip pressure or hand pressure instead of needle stimulation or acuneedles.
Okay. And who would you recommend acupressure for?
Oh man, anybody and everybody. You know, it doesn't have any community that is better for or not. If you're having trouble with sleep, if you're having trouble with stress, if you're having issues with constipation or migraines, backache, shoulder pains, almost anything that is resonating in somebody or feels a little bit out of balance. Could be chakra work. It could be mental, physical. It could be something like autoimmune disease. It really I have protocols for just about anything that you can think of. And, you know, I may have an anxiety protocol and there's 7 to choose from. And what I would do with a client is look at each of those protocols and also look at the associations that go with them. And 9 times out of 10, somebody is presenting with something like a stress or a pain, but there's also something else going on, either an emotional level or deeper than that. So we just kind of match up a protocol with the most amount of I don't know how to say whatever they're showing up with, you know. If it's headaches, if it's constipation, if it's nauseousness, if it's stress, it's really a tailored practice or tailored protocol for whatever's being presented by the client at the time of their session.
Okay. So is that different than what you offer with the massage, or is that included for people who may not know?
A lot of times I do incorporate acupoint or some acupressure in my massage sessions, whether the client really knows that that's what's happening or not. The biggest difference is a massage session is done, mostly on an unclothed body with draping and boundaries and, a certain way of doing it. Acupressure is done fully clothed. You're still on a massage table, laying on your back or face down, whatever is most comfortable for the client. It can be done seated in a chair. So there's a little bit more versatility to it. You can go into an office park and, I've done that where I go into corporate office buildings and the corporation lets me come in. They give their employees time during their workday. They're not paying for it. The client themselves is paying for it. But just the fact that a corporation lets me come in and allows their employees to have the time to do it, I believe it raises office morale, it helps with stress, it increases productivity. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can incorporate acupressure for stress relief, for increasing circulation, decreasing pain, balancing your energy systems. So getting really grounded or finding your way back to center.
And can you explain what energy healing looks like in a session with you and kind of explain what it is for people who may not know?
Energy healing is, for me to explain it, I'll have to say we're all made of energy.
Right.
It's what, you've ever walked into a room and before you know what's going on in that room, if things are happy or sad or tense or, you just kind of feel that. So in ancient Chinese medicine, and the theory of it anyway, is that when our energy systems are blocked or stagnant with, we all have a life force energy that runs through us. And when our meridians are blocked or the energy isn't running at optimal flow, that's when disease, illness, sickness, tension, stress can ease into the body and manifest into, bigger chronic things. So it's just a way of, I like to say, resetting or bringing grounding, bringing us into alignment with mind, body, spirit, and emotion. I think when all three are aligned, all four are aligned, we seem to be at optimal health. And energy work is a good way to get you there.
Okay. And what does that look like in a session with you?
So if it was acupressure or if it was a Reiki session, it's a very gentle, you know, fingertip pressure or gentle laying of the hands. I tend to be more hands-on than hands-off when I give energy work. But the ambiance of the room is usually nice, quiet, meditative music, dim light, heated table if it's in the winter. Sometimes people don't care for a heated table in the dead summer, but it's really just relaxation. And for me, I move around the table and I go where I'm called to go. If I'm giving a Reiki session, there's really not a whole lot of process to it. It's just where intuitively I'm called to be in the session with that person on their body, around their body. If it's an acupressure session, then it's I'm following a protocol. So I have a formula that I have specific points that I'm on. A lot of times I'm using both hands, and I could be at a point on your neck and also a point on your leg or under your back. So it's very integrated. I'm doing the work and the client's just kind of laying there receiving. And the magic happens sometimes on the table, but more often than not, once they get home and the work continues to integrate and they start to make connections, or we unblock channels that have been kind of blocked or stagnant, or once you have a release, your body just kind of feels it. And it could be an emotional release, like a crying. It could be laughter. It could be you just sink deeper into the table. It could be, all of a sudden that cramp in your leg has released itself. So I find myself, and I think of myself more as a facilitator of healing. I'm not doing the work. I'm not necessarily healing somebody. I'm bringing them to their own healing by allowing the body's own natural process of coming to balance or homeostasis. Our bodies are designed to do that on its own, but sometimes it just needs a little help getting back on track with things. And that's where I feel like I come in and compassionate touch.
Okay. And why do people need massages, or why would you suggest massages? Because most people have had injuries. You're stressed out from traffic, you're stressed out from work, the day, your family, whatever the case may be. Why would you recommend massages for people who don't get massages?
Probably just for self-care, for taking time to invest in yourself by giving yourself an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever you set your time parameters for, where you're fully present with just taking care of yourself. And it's great for aches and pains. It's great for anxiety. It's great for stress. It's great for coming back from an injury. And a lot of times when you're going through things, you may have broken your leg and you've been walking around on crutches for several weeks. Well, the rest of your body kind of feels that too. Your back starts to hurt. Your arms are hurting from using the crutches. So it's just a way to invest in yourself, bring yourself to healing and decreasing pain. Again, all of these modalities kind of work in the same way, where a big part of what they do is decreasing stress and tension, improving circulation, improving quality of sleep, decreasing pain, bringing your body back into a balanced state. How else to say it, but to just try to remind your body that it knows how to be at rest. It knows how to be pain-free, but sometimes it needs a little help getting there.
So what should a person do after a massage? Because, most people leave and they're like, oh, I feel great. So what does the after effect, what should it look like? Because most people go back to regularly scheduled programming and they may not come back for another year for a massage.
Mm-hmm. I always tell clients immediately when they leave or before they get off the table, please do me two things. Go home and continue to rest, and go home and drink plenty of water. Sometimes you can get a massage and have a detoxification effect after, where we've gone in, we've done a lot of deep tissue work. We're moving some things out of your tissue that's been just stagnant, stale, lymph that's been pulled up in an area too long. So you can have, immediately after, you can have a headache, or you feel a little run down, or you feel like you're coming down with a cold. That will quickly rebound if it's an effect of the massage, because that's your body detoxing. So I always ask my clients to go home if they can, continue to rest, drink lots of water. Anything that's been pulled out of your tissues, the best way to release it from your body is to stay hydrated and filter it out. But after that, a lot of times you'll have an upsurge in energy. You'll have a great night's sleep. Your digestion will get better. You may have periods of peace and calm, and where otherwise your body and your mind tends to be anxious or afraid, or out of sorts. Just kind of brings you back to center, a place of grounding, rest, rejuvenate, and that's all what a massage is really good for. There's two sides of our nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. And when our nervous system is on edge or on the go or in a startled state, you're in a sympathetic, you're not able to kind of go inward and calm down. So what massage does is help the body get back to that and get into a parasympathetic state of being, where you can rest, digest, recharge your battery, so to speak. Just feel better. I rarely have somebody get off the table or within a day or two come back and say, I feel worse today than I did before.
So how often would you recommend a massage for someone?
That's a hard question for me to answer, because a lot of things come into it: finances, time, availability. At minimum, I always suggest once a month. If you can do it weekly, that's great. If you can do it bi-weekly, that's even better. But at a minimum, give yourself 1 hour a month to just take care of yourself. Check in with your heart center, get out of your headspace, and just let somebody else help you feel really good.
And my question is, how do you're massaging someone, I'm sure you can feel their energy. So how do you try to make sure that whatever that energy is not passed through you? Because, people say you enter a room, someone's negative, typically it affects your mood. So how do you try not to allow that to pass on to you? Because you're physically touching. It's not always words being exchanged. It's that physical touch that you're experiencing.
The best way for me to do that is I do clearings of myself. Enter a room, I do clearings of myself. After a client leaves, I stay in sacred space. I create sacred space in the room that they're in, because whatever they show up with, that's what I'm there for. And if that day they're having a really, 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 really hard day and they come in and cry for an hour on my table while I'm giving a massage, that's okay, because that's what the body needed. It needed that release. I have really good boundaries. I'm able to, as a professional, keep myself distant from the experience that they're having. And, there is a power differential in a session where, I'm leading because I'm the practitioner, but I'm going to be with you in whatever shows up. And I don't take on what my clients are going through. We all kind of have our our own baggage that we deal with.
Right.
So if I took on all that my clients are showing up with, well, I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing because I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. So it's being really mindful, being really present in what they're going through and not what I'm going through. And it's really giving myself all of me for that 1 hour session that the client has signed up to be on my table.
And how do you find balance between career and personal life?
I stay passionate with things that I like to do. I'm also a high school softball coach.
Okay.
Been doing that for the past 15 years at a all-girls Catholic school right outside of Washington, D.C. So I have two dogs. One's a puppy, and the other's a 4-year-old little guy. So I do things that fill up my heart. I keep myself with good company and people that are good for me, and I don't engage in a lot of drinking anymore. I just kind of ever since my brother passed away from a drunk driver, and that experience opened my eyes to just a different relationship with alcohol. And so I'm really cautious in what I put into my body nowadays, and who I allow myself to be in company with. And I just make good choices. Life is about balance and making good choices, and I don't know. I try to stay more positive than negative. And I'm not going to say that every day is a great day, because I do have my downtimes. But a lot of it has to do with frame of mind and how you're living here in your heart. So I try to stay feeding myself well with good nutrition and getting daily exercise and taking walks. And like I said, I'm not as great at meditation, but I love prayer. And I stay connected with the Lord and spirit world. And I have a lot of family and friends that have passed on, but I believe they're with me every day in spirit. I see them. I feel their presence, even though they're not here. So I just, I work in 2 amazing wellness centers, and I get good energy there.
I definitely agree that, even though family members aren't physically here, they're definitely here in our heart and spirit. I know you used to play softball as well. Mm-hmm. So what made you decide, okay, hey, I want to coach? Because, most people are like, typically it's, yeah, those days are over. I'm retired. So what made you say, yeah, coaching is the direction I want to go to? And how do you show up for your girls to keep them positive? Because they're going through that stage of so much peer pressure, wanting to be liked by everybody. It's just so much that's going on and so much stress and pressure on them. So how do you show up and be that influence to let them know, okay, love you, self-care for you, and be positive about you? Because, they get disappointed, they strike out. They get disappointed, you guys don't win a game. So how do you keep them encouraged and positive?
Oh, yeah. Softball is huge mental game, and it's not all about the physical. So I approach it somewhat the same way, where I create safe space for them. I coach with one of my very best friends for 30 years. And so the reason I do it is really that, the love of the game of softball. I coach with one of my very best friends, and I love being a role model for these girls. I think it's empowering to them. I think it's very much needed. We keep it real with them. We create safe space. We stay positive and encouraging. They're in a Catholic school environment, so they, have ethics and morals that they have to adhere to just as part of their program and within the school. So we just instill in them not just softball and skill, but life lessons, and we let them come and vent. If they have a bad day, we'll take 5 or 10 minutes out of our practice time to check in with them and make sure that they have an outlet and an avenue to release the stresses and the environment of being a high school teenage girl. There's a lot of drama in that.
Yeah.
And but it's important. There's a lot of life lessons that can be learned, not just in softball, but playing a team sport and being accountable towards each other. We make goals in the beginning of every year. We work towards them. We really hound how important teamwork is. You're never going to win a softball game by yourself. It takes all 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players on the field. Even if you're on the bench and you're not in the game at the time, you matter. Your voice matters. You have to be ready at any time to go into a game if you're called upon it. And that's just kind of how life is, we really try to get them ready for their next level of life. And that's whether it's college or going on to start a career, just being in moral support to them and being a role model and staying positive and instilling good character.
And I'm sure they love you because you are such a great spirit. For people who don't know, Christi is also my massage therapist. So she is really good. She's very caring, and she definitely, tells me, okay, your left side is off, which, yeah. So definitely. So how do you provide self-care and self-wellness for yourself?
I get on the table when I can with my colleagues. I don't get caught up in the dramas of the world. I try to just stay in my own lane with things. I eat well, or I try to make an effort to eat well. I get good sleep at night. I don't burn the candle on both ends. I stay in company with people that empower me and bring richness to my life. And I don't know, I just stay even keel as much as I can. When I notice things I've become really in tune with my body and my mind and my spirit. And I try to catch things before they unravel or become bigger than me or spin out of control. Going through the things that I've been through in my life, I've had to filter out a lot of stress and tension and anxiety of my own accord. And so in some ways, all these little things that have happened or these big things that have happened have brought me to who I am today. And so I embrace all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the joyous. It's all part of me. It's who I am. And, I find lessons in darkness. And I think that sometimes we got to come through darkness to see the light.
And that is definitely true, because so many people struggle with that. And especially with you, I definitely commend you because basically you've lost your family. And that's typically our parents are our first love. Your siblings are your first best friends. So that's a lot for you to overcome. And I definitely commend you because you have a huge heart. From the first time meeting you, I could feel your heart and your passion for what you do, and you're caring for your clientele. And that means a lot. And I'm sure your other clients definitely feel that and see that. That's why they keep coming back to you, because you have a huge heart. So can you tell people how they can reach out to you? And definitely reach out to her because her services are awesome. I go as much as I can. So definitely, please provide how people can reach you.
Okay, yeah. So Lionheart Wellbeing LLC is the name of my private practice. Again, it's in Greenbelt. Still working on website development, but I have an email address. I could say it out to you real quick. It's kind of a long one, but it's Lionheart lionheart@gmail.com, and I'll spell that for you. LionHeartSoulja @gmail.com. You can text me. That's easiest. 301-332-0337. That's my business line. I'm in 2 locations, like I mentioned. You can find me at Nourishing Journey in Columbia. That's nourishing-journey.com. There are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and a couple Saturdays a month. Otherwise, I am open for availability in Greenbelt. Whenever I can get clients. This pandemic has thrown a loop into everything that I had going for me. Like I said, I just got out of school February 2019, and I didn't get licensed in the state until May 15th, 2019. So probably by September, I was up and running in Greenbelt, and then we got shut down in March. So my clientele in the beginning hadn't been too great, but I've quickly come back. I'm starting to get regular appointments and clients. So I'm available. I'll come to you if that's easiest. I don't do a lot of out calls, but not everybody can get out of the house. So I bring healing to you any way I can. I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. I feel like we're all here with a purpose or a soul mission. Thankfully, the Lord showed me mine through difficult avenues, but I don't think if I hadn't experienced what I've been through, I wouldn't be a healer or a practitioner right now. I wouldn't have had the desire, I don't think, to get into the healing arts if I hadn't experienced the hardships, the traumas, the grief, the loss, the accident, the surgery, the recovery, the addiction. It's opened my heart to know that we all struggle. We all have hard times. We all see darkness in different ways. And but the light can shine again. And I find myself, or I think of myself as a bridge between heaven and earth. I think I've mentioned that to you before in session, where I draw in my energies from the heavens, and I bring in the nutrients and the healing of the Mother Earth. And in between those two, the heavens and the earth, I bring light and love and kind of a conduit of energy for my clients.
And what would you recommend for people who are trying to overcome grief, overcome addiction, overcome that dark place? Because you physically experienced it. So what would you recommend for them in order to move forward? Because it is hard.
I think you got to step out of seeing yourself as a victim in it. I think that takes away our power sometimes when we hold ourselves as being stuck or a victim of, or I think you just have to vibrate out of that and bring yourself to a higher level of energy, higher vibration, a path of ascension. I would say stay the course. You know, the sun goes down every night, but it comes up every morning. So during the dark times, remember that it's best to come through it. The more you try to avoid it, the bigger it gets, the darker it gets, the more lonely it gets. And sometimes just confiding in somebody else, or investing in yourself in a way of healing, or bringing yourself a little bit closer to the light instead of the center of the darkness. You just, time heals. And, you know, I think that in any time of hardship or things that we go through, sometimes in our darkest moments bring us to our greatest light. And if we hadn't experienced those things, then we might not have had the growth opportunity that those downfalls or those dark times or those trials and tribulations are meant to show up in our life for. You know, sometimes the Lord gives us our hardest battles to the strongest warriors because he knows he can handle them. And, just again, stay the course and know that there can be a better tomorrow.
That was definitely amazing recommendation and suggestions, because I don't think people understand when they're going through the battle, that battle is meant to make them stronger, meant for them to learn, meant for them to be a testimony to somebody else who's also going through. So that was so much, and that was just like a huge gem. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you have to go soon, so thank you so much for blessing us with so much valuable information, because it's not just about massage. It was so much that you offer that, people struggle with, and especially during this time of pandemic. Can you just tell people, because, people are scared of getting massages because of the pandemic, and they're like, well, they don't have masks on, they're not being safe. So I can personally say that you're safe, but you can tell people what your protocol is to make sure they're protected when they're coming to you for services.
Yeah, so we do a screening beforehand, and we ask you if you've, been exposed to or been around anybody that or recent travel that may have exposed you to coronavirus. We take your temperature when you come in. We ask that you wash your hands before we start the session. I wash my hands with you. I step out of the room. We're both fully masked the whole entire time. I will let clients, if they're face down in the face cradle, kind of pull down below their nose so that they can breathe. It's really hard to be in a face cradle,
Right.
face down with a mask. It's counterproductive. If you can't relax on the table, you're not going to get the benefits of the massage that you need to. So I stay fully masked the whole time. When I wash with you before a session, we come in, we do an intake. I step out of the room, I wash again. And, knock on wood, I've been working since June, seeing clients on a pretty regular basis. And so far, so far, so good. I don't want to jinx myself, but I've been okay. I take supplements, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3. I try to be really sanitary when I get home. I make sure I take off my clothes. They go immediately in the wash. We sanitize in between each session, so the table gets wiped down. Anything that had been touched in the room, doorknobs, light switches, the table, the face cradle, the stool that I sit on. We're trying to really, really, really do our best and stay above the game with all of this. It has thrown a monkey wrench into personal services. Any modality where you're being in compassionate touch, or you're not able to remain a 6 feet of distance as CDC guidelines suggest, people get a little bit hesitant, or there's a vulnerability there to be exposed. But we really are trying to do everything that we can to stay in service to the community. I think there's no greater time in the history of just the collectiveness where healing and stress relief and self-care is needed more. Everybody's kind of been impacted and vulnerable to this pandemic, and we just try to continue to bring healing in a way of somewhat normalcy as we can, because it's important. Healing and bringing good energy and people back to a grounding state, it's really important. And that's it, really.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting people know, because I've told people I've gotten massages, and of course their shoulders go up and they're like, what, you getting a massage during the pandemic? Yes, I am, because I cannot take a vacation, so I need some form of relaxation, self-care, and relief. So that's my vacation. It's going to see Christi for a massage. So yes, I'm
ma'am. We can't live in fear, we can't live in fear our whole lives. And it's really, the pandemic is nothing to joke about. It's very real. It's very serious. But we keep living. We got to keep living. So
again, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, because some people, when it comes to their personal life, they don't like opening up. But I'm definitely sure you will touch somebody else who hears this podcast and can see, hey, I can overcome my dark side, my grief, and everything else. And I thank you for sharing that, because, again, you are such a positive spirit, and I just love your spirit. So thank you,
thank you.
thank you, thank you. And I would definitely like to have you back and talk about your softball season, because I used to coach softball too for middle school.
Yes, ma'am.
So definitely, definitely love softball. So thank you again. Till next time.
Thank you